Every day, your sales and customer teams have thousands of conversations, but 99% of that insight is lost. What ends up in your CRM? A short note, a few fields, the rest disappears. Meanwhile, your team is buried in manual work, information is siloed, and leaders are left guessing. That's an expensive gap, and that's where Momentum comes in. Momentum is a revenue orchestration platform. We use AI and automation to capture every customer interaction, structure the data, push it to your system of record, and trigger the next step automatically. Whether you're building AI agents yourself or using ours, Momentum is how modern go-to-market teams scale without adding complexity or headcount. From forecasting and churn risk to product feedback and coaching, every conversation becomes actionable. And companies like Ramp, Zscaler, and 1Password are saving 3 to 10 hours per person per week. No tabs to switch, no behaviors to change, just better execution wherever your team works. This is how you scale in 2025. This is how you build momentum.
Welcome, everyone. It is another time for AI Advantage. My name is Jonathan Carford, aka Coach, and I am ecstatic, pleased, and honestly honored that our man today to be joining us. This is Keenan. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Can't complain.
Yeah, I love it. So we're super excited to be here. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time because we are here. And then on stage with me now joining is Chris Mendez, our VP of Worldwide Sales. Hello, Chris. How are you, sir?
Hey, how are you? Good to be here.
Good to see you. Love it. So we get to cover the topic today of how CROs can successfully enable humans and AI. And in case you watching have not seen or been a part of the AI Advantage before, very succinctly, it's just designed to showcase how leaders are leveraging AI to solve challenges and drive measurable results. So before we get into it, I know, Chris, we like to have a little bit of a commercial, and I'm going to hand it over to you, Chris. If you want to share your screen, we can do that. We do a quick commercial, and we're going to dig in with Keenan and bask in his glory and greatness, which I'm really excited for. So,
no pressure, man. No pressure.
No pressure.
On the spot.
On the spot. And if you want to, please comment in the comments as Chris is getting it pulled up where you're at. We'd love to see where everyone is. And as we go, this is obviously live. So if you have questions for Keenan as we go through, please put them in the comments. I'll make sure I'll bring him up on stage so Keenan can see it, and I'll answer your questions as we go. So yeah, it'll be nice and easy. So tell us where you are from. I know there's probably a little bit of a lag, like 30 seconds. So tell us where you're from. We'd love to see where you are. And Chris, when you're ready, let me know, and I'll add the slides to the stage.
Yeah. So you want me to tell everybody where I'm from? Is that what I hear?
No, so I was asking them for the audience.
Okay.
So saying,
got it.
I'll tell you right now. Let's look at this. We have from London. Hello, London. We have Lehigh, Utah. Joshua, good to see you.
Great.
West Palm Beach. What's up, Christopher? Good to see you.
Love that.
Love to see where everyone is. And then Chris, do you have your slides up and ready? Ashley says Phoenix, San Fran,
Great, yeah.
Jan, Chicago. Love it, man. This is cool.
Yeah. So John, just for the deck.
Yeah.
Do you have it, or do you want me to pull up the overview, just general?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Bring me over if you want to. That way you can drive it.
Awesome. Well, this is a little different than Zoom. So.
Yeah, on the bottom in the middle is that share screen. Sorry, guys. Chris just barely got off a customer call, so he's very kind to come join me last minute. I shouldn't say last minute. I mean, but right before you had a customer call before this, you had to jump on with us. So I appreciate you getting on with us, Chris. This is awesome.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. Look at this. Remy from New York City. New York City. New York City. Sheesh. Love it. Hey, Brendan from Dallas. This is cool. All right, let's get rocking. You see that? Okay.
Awesome.
There we go.
Everybody can see that. Cool. Happy to just do a quick snippet of what Momentum is. So we're calling ourselves AI Go-to-Market Data Orchestration. We pay a lot of money for that term. What it means is, for a caveman like myself, is we're moving data around, but we're trying to extract it from places where it's unstructured. Think about how we do that in customer interactions, where we believe most of where golden data sets are hidden. We're trying to listen to the enterprise wherever those conversations are happening. Think emails, tickets, calls like this, slides, Google, Zoom. And we're trying to collect that data and because of this belief. We believe that most of the valuable data is happening in these exchanges from humans to humans. But the problem that we're solving for is when you think about how does that data move from a phone call like this, where maybe me and Keenan will exchange 8,000 words, how much of that actually makes it into the CRM? Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's cryptic. I remember when I was in AE not too long ago, is I would write these cryptic code words for myself, and then 2 weeks later in a deal review, I didn't even remember. I didn't even know what it was anymore. And so what we're doing is trying to solve a problem through the lens of where in the sales process is the human the data source, and how can we step into that void, because maybe the human brain was never meant for that length of recall or ability to compute, and we're trying to step into that. And we believe that when we do that, we're kind of solving this, like a go-to-market execution crisis, where because of competitive landscapes, because of how different directions that sales tech is going. I remember a day when I used to join a company and you'd buy Clary for forecasting, Gong for call recording, Outreach for outbound, and something else that no one's going to use. But today everybody's kind of building around each other, and there's this battle for the sales platform. So Momentum is trying to just not play in that game and be a data pipeline behind everything, and be the connective tissue that structures the data and then sends it to places in your business that can be very valuable. Think Salesforce, CRM enrichment, think Snowflake, think analysis, being able to listen to the past and find out why you win, why you lose. We do that through first-party data. Think about where you get data today. Maybe you pay different companies, surveys, database companies for information, for enrichment, etc. The truth is, a lot of the data you need is happening on calls, just like this. And if you can extract that and be able to extract, for example, hey, now's not the right buying window, but reach out back in 6 months and be able to capture window opportunities based on buying cycles at scale for your global organization. And you can enrich your CRM to be able to have a play when buying windows open. That's first party data, just as one example, or competitors or missing feature set. We can be listening to that and enrich. For the value pyramid, I think what we solve for is for team members, you get time back. Think before call, after call, end of day. Momentum kind of helps you understand what you owe, writes the email that you should send. For users, you get freedom. Middle management, you get deal control. I don't think dashboards give you deal control. It tells you where to go. We can kind of automate your sales process and your sales methodology, something like gap selling, for example. And then for VP leaders, you get outcomes so that you can make better decisions. Think about the ability to listen to all of last quarter and find out specifically what was the feature set that was missing across your biggest competitor, and you can slice and dice that by segment or region. And then how do we do that is through this orchestration. I used to play soccer, born in Brazil. I like to liken this to being the number 10 on a soccer team, where you're just trying to pass the ball so that you can have an involvement and participation. A lot of things I could say, but obviously I don't want to take up all of the time. But what we're trying to do is listen to the enterprise and make the voice of the customer actionable. Bring it to places that matter: product team, CS team, pre-sales, onboarding, orchestration, handoffs. But through the process of orchestration, we do three things at Momentum. We extract, transform, and load. We're extracting valuable data sets that happen in conversations. We're transforming. That's very, very expensive. It's not just throwing transcripts into LLMs. It's very expensive to transform data to make sure it has the right context and the right output and quality that you need, and send it to Slack or the CRM or Snowflake. And then that's the load part. So extract, transform, and load is what we do. I know that was fast, but I wanted to go fast. Hopefully you captured all that. John, let me know if I missed anything.
No, you did great. I appreciate the overview. Always good to hear from a sales leader. So now we get to, with no further ado, I know we kind of showed Keenan before. I'm a huge fan of Keenan. Obviously, you read his book when it came out before. I'm privileged to be part of Revenue Magazine, as one of the contributors for the Revenue Magazine. If you guys are not reading those articles, you should, because we have some amazing people there writing stuff. And then Keenan, you came out last year, which I geeked out on, your enablement methodology framework that you had, which I thought was awesome. So super excited to have you, Keenan, and just want to say thank you for coming, and glad to have you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's dig in. So I was just on a webinar last week, and so I'm going to kick it off with some maybe spicy is not the right word, but tell me, like, as you're talking to revenue leaders, CROs, and all this other stuff, and obviously AI is the hit. What are you hearing people? What are the questions they should be asking that they're not asking? Let's start there.
Oh my gosh, that's a broad ass question.
Yeah.
What questions should they be asking? I mean, I think that just depends where they are in their own organizational development life cycle. So what I would probably do is I would start with, and what I tell people is, and I did post about this the other day, stop looking at AI as a task-oriented engine or a task tool, and stop looking at it as an easy button. Sales is absolutely notorious for the easy button. We are like squirrels looking for a nut. We're like, ooh, flashy, what's flashy thing over there? And we just run from thing to thing that we think is going to provide us that quick fix, that easy button, that silver bullet. And AI is now that next thing. And I love data and I love research, much to the surprise of many people. And I haven't dug in too much, but the early indications are a lot of organizations, including sales organizations, are backing off their AI initiatives. And it's not because they weren't good or didn't have good intentions. It's because they tried using it as a damn easy button. It's just not an easy button.
So to give you an example of that, I'd see in action all the time. Like people say, hey, I have an AI SDR. I'm going to throw it at a bunch of lists and have it book me tons of meetings and have lots of pipeline, right?
Yep.
Like that's what people go through. When you go through this and you have people say, so, okay, Keenan, if we don't push the easy button, what is the not easy button, but more effective way? What do you suggest to people?
Okay. So you like ask these really, really big questions. My mind.
I'm trying to get you going, man.
Like I got to process things in chunks. So we'll use your example, right? So the broad answer is, what are you trying to do? So if you're going to use AI, what are you trying to do? And why do you think it's broken now? So what are you trying to replace? And why is that not working? And why do you believe AI is going to replace it? And very specifically, I'll ask it twice. And why do you think AI is going to replace it, right? So what do you think is going to be different? So going back to your piece with the SDR, I have said this multiple times. I am known for not being shy. I have reached out to a number of AI SDR, AI sales companies, to their CROs or to their CEOs to say, hey, I want to talk to you about implementing gap selling into your AI, and they don't even respond. And this is the problem they're making, right?
Wow.
AI is no different than a person. Let me say this to you 1,000 times over. They are no different than a person. You would never go out and hire a bunch of well, I guess we kind of do this all the time. You go out and you hire a bunch of SDRs and you teach them how to overcome a few objections. You put a phone in front of them, say, stop dialing and make some and close deals. You don't give them a methodology. You don't give them a set of type of data. You don't train them in the customer. You don't do any of this stuff. And you expect them to close deals and you're surprised they don't. Okay. The shit that I hear coming out of SDRs, even to this day, I should throw these people under the bus because I went and hired an SDR company through a relationship, sent 2 additional customers to them, and their SDRs was so bad that all 3 of us quit. I lost credibility with the 2 people I sent to them. I spent a shit ton of money. I didn't get any money back from them, and they're fairly well known. So for the record, I could bury them right now, but I'm not going to. But the reason I'm bringing them up is because their SDRs were horribly trained. Trained. I did a post the other day where someone said to me, oh, Keenan, we're excited for gap prospecting a new book. Although one of your people called to me, it was one of the people we outsourced to. And I was so disappointed when we were so excited. We heard from them. We were so disappointed when they're in their selling process because they did a horrible job. Long way to say is this. You have to train the SDR in approaches and methods. You can't just train them in the tasks. So, for instance, this is me off the top of the cuff. So this will be fun if anybody wants to get into discussion on this. If I were building customer success or customer service agents, AI agents, I would not only train them in customer service, I would train them in human behavior. I would train them in a conflict resolution. I would train them in responding to to human ego. In other words, I would give them training in things that you just can't do with a regular customer success person because they don't have the cognitive ability to do it all, right? Like that's a PhD. but they're not doing those things. They're not stepping back and asking, what am I training this thing in? And what are the 2 or 3 or 4 circles outside of this can maximize the value of this thing and train them? That's one piece. That was a long answer. Sorry, bro.
No, I love it. And I like I'll try to make sure it's more pointed for your point instead of these broad ones to make it easier for you.
I don't mind them. I just don't know how to deliver value on a super broadly, because value to me is siloed, right? How an insurance company would use an AI agent versus how a sales team would versus how a manufacturing company would. So when I give these answers, it's hard for me to feel like I'm bringing any value. And it's like, well, just, train it on something. Like
Totally.
Oh, Keenan, you're value personified, so I'm not worried at all about it. It'll be fine. So Chris, to your point, I mean, that's kind of essentially the same thing we're doing with the SDR team. Like we're obviously an AI native company, and all the stuff you do with the SDRs is very much on the human side. You want to talk about that at all? Because it kind of goes down to his point.
Yeah, I think what helps this conversation is AI, whether you attribute top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, or bottom of the funnel. AI isn't going to solve for a lack of enablement, training, execution. Like if you hire great people, and if you have maybe B players become A players with AI, maybe B players become C players. But one of the things that really stuck with me that John Kaplan had said in his podcast, Force Management, is AI is going to do 2 things. It's going to make great salespeople elite, and it's going to make the average salesperson horrible. Because if you know hard before smart, it sticks, and you can leverage that, right? You can't take advantage of something that you haven't truly mastered or understand. And so AI is not the AI end-all solution, because if you've never arrived at the fundamental aspect of sales process, approach, messaging, research, all of the sales competencies, there's many sales methodologies out there that you can go get certified in. If you haven't, gone through the basics of being leveled up in training, AI has nothing to hold you accountable on, to coach you on, to assist you on, to pilot you on. And so to that point with our SDRs, I go down to Argentina where they are. It's funny because I'm originally from Brazil, and so there's this big rivalry, so I use that. And when we go down there, I train them on like account research, right? Org chart, target champions, understanding what are the top 2 initiatives at that company, and to come up with like a value hypothesis where you're trying to understand what's broken, what are the challenges, what's the problem. But then like on the other side of the river, it's what are we good at? What are the problems that we want to be known for in the marketplace? What's our areas of expertise? And so it's defining what we're good at versus what the problem is. And that bridge is called a value hypothesis. Now, once I've trained the team on how to come up with the messaging by persona based on the value hypothesis, that comes out of an account plan. And AI has drastically reduced the research time. Before you be skimming through earnings calls and 10Ks and trying to do side calls for discovery and get intelligence, AI has helped. But if the person doesn't know, to your point, Keenan, if no one has trained them on like, what do you look for when you're doing research, then that research is not going to help you with messaging. So I go down there, I do these workshops, these offsites. Now, when they use AI post the fundamentals of the training that I employ, then they get the productivity. Then they get speed to meeting, because they can speed up what they've slowly retained. But if you're just hoping that AI can kind of tell everybody what to do at the right time, at the right moment, with the right information, that doesn't exist. It will get you a lot of likes, a lot of shares on LinkedIn. But to John McMahon's point, no one has arrived past the fundamentals. Whatever methodology, I actually love gap selling, read the book 3 times, Boston guy. But if you don't know the fundamentals, AI will do nothing to kind of get you 1 yard further.
Yeah, I love that. Jeremy, it's a great question. I'm going to pop this up because I want you to give you a second to read that, Keenan, if you can, and tell me your thoughts from Jeremy.
Well, that's a question for you.
I'm curious for you too, of like what you see, because the question I was going to ask you before, and I'll answer for momentum in a second. But for you, like you're using the AI role play with Replicate with James, and you have your own Keenan role play. Where do you see the balance?
Let me be clear. For 2 reasons. One, because James would be remiss, and 2, because there's a massive difference and the market's not getting it. We're coaching. Role play is just an element of it. There's a
Yes.
big difference. You go into role play and you just have 8 role plays, and that's, I'll call that prescriptive. It's just here's a role play, here's a role play, here's a role play. The coaching says evaluates all your shit and then builds a plan which could include role play to fix a particular set of skill sets. And that's what AI Keenan does. So just for issues, it's more than that.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. So using like the speed model you had before with enablement, like where do you see interjecting AI in the places that you see benefits of, like, for example, the AI Keenan or any other tech? Like when we think about the skills management or the performance layer, like where do you see the ideal placement of those?
Oh, all of the above. All of the above. So, I mean, we took the speed model, by the way, which was a ubiquitous sort of anybody can use it. And we took it another level. And I went deeper with it. You should check it out. Now it's called the problem-centric operating system. We added problem centricity through it. We built the tools that are associated with the processes. So we built it out even more so. But anyways, all layers. So you can use AI in the training skills layer, right? In the skills layer, you can use it there. You can use AI to go out and assess what somebody is doing. Like, think about this. You can have AI go into their opportunities, take a look at all their opportunities, pound that against the methodology and say, hey, this person struggles at this part of the methodology, and then assign training to them, right? You can do the same thing at the opportunity layer. You can have the opportunity layer start taking a look at the deals, seeing which deals close with what information is in those deals, then turning around and saying, look, in spite of what you may think here, we found that deals that have this type of information and have done these things close at 50% higher rate or close at 80%, the ones without it, 70%, et cetera. So you can use AI to assess the deal quality against historicals. And we own a company called Node Analytics that already does that. So you can use AI everywhere in all the layers, right? From skills to opportunity to forecasting layer. You can use them all everywhere.
Chris, you were pointing at, I know you have thoughts on this one.
Yeah, no, I adhere to that. Being able to reverse engineer your best sales reps, right, Keenan? Like, what do they do? What do they capture? How do they overcome objections? And so, but if I'm like being the devil's advocate, if you don't have those conversations, AI can't listen to it, right? If whatever you don't do, whatever you don't say, AI can't give you insights on, it can't give you accountability on. And so first you need to, that's why I actually put this in the comments real quick. This is one of the things that I adhere to, because what Keenan is talking about is like being able to map milestones in a deal or a sales process and reverse engineer what correlates to close one. And you can do that with milestones, and milestones can be sales competencies, it can be skills, it can be strategy. And I think the complex answer is how can you weave all three? And so it could be multi-threading, it could be quantifying the pain, it could be having access to the EB, right? Whatever your sales process defines as a great deal based on your entry and exit criteria, AI can hold analysis on that. But at first, to Keenan's original point, at first they're not trained. At first they're not taught. At first there's no show of this is what good looks like. Then AI has nothing to grade, has nothing to give analysis on. That's why I adhere to this. I put it in the comment, teach. Number one is teach. And if you're an imposter in the role, you can't teach. You can't read a book and teach it. You have to have like closed some deals, right? So mastery of whatever methodology that you're in, you need to teach, like spend some time teaching. And then you show. What I love is that out of all the books that people like Keenan have written, they can jump on any call and show that. Hey, you should do this. They can jump on any call and show that. And so not only to be able to listen to a whole quarter's worth of calls to reverse engineer, hey, for velocity shops, like I remember this one customer, Keenan, they used our platform to reverse engineer, hey, what are the skill sets that correlate to our 3 AEs who are killing it? And we narrowed it down by listening to hundreds and thousands of calls past quarter, that it was basically great follow-up. Like they always got, at the end of the call, they just always got on the, now that's not the end all be all for like sales competencies and individual development plans, but it was interesting that the one thing in this velocity shop, think one call close, 2 call closes, the one thing that correlated to a skill set was getting on the calendar, always being able to prescribe a value call at the end of the call. And that calendar rhythm just correlated so well to CW. And so if you know that at a macro level and you get 100 people, you can use AI to go after that meta habit versus 12 things that you're trying to enable. And that could increase your sales pipeline win rate just by being able to identify what's one thing that 300 people are doing, specific to the sales org that would lift the tide. That's an example of one. But I'll say this and I'll shut up. But teach, right? Like being able to teach, being able to show, because it's the show. You see me doing this, John, sometimes. Because sometimes when you teach something, either the AE, right, Keenan, either he doesn't want to do it because he doesn't believe in it or he thinks it doesn't work. And so when you go from teach to show, you kind of create that moment on the call where it becomes the myth busting session. It's possible. You can ask for the EB. You can ask for a business case. You can ask for a roadshow to introduce other stakeholders into the evaluation. You can do these things. And so I think a lot of leaders miss the show part. But if you can teach show, then you can observe and give feedback. That's one of the things that I've seen work very well in how you're trying to develop milestones over a sales process to see how can I actually move the needle on people executing on what I'm teaching on.
Jonathan, Can I share something?
Please. Go ahead and share and I'll bring it up on stage. Let's do it.
Okay. So, Chris, I like what you talked about the idea of teach. So let me know when it's up, by the way, Jonathan. I hit share. I don't know if it's sharing. Is it sharing?
It's not yet.
The browser can't access your screen. Try capturing a different screen if this continues. Well, figures, right?
Yeah. If you want, you can send it to me. I'll get it up too. Uh-oh. He may have left. We'll come back in a second. While he's coming back, Jeremy, I'm going to ask you a question. You said gap selling is a great methodology to coach your rep on diagnosed problems, and you need continuous repetition and practice. So we are not a role-playing practice platform, just so you know. We take from live calls what's happening. So to give you an example, we're the platform then on the call itself, we'd be analyzing the call for whatever methodology you choose, like gap selling, and figure out like what is present, what is missing, how well does someone perform, and then give it a score on both qualitatively and quantitatively, and then show you over time how someone's performing at us. That's what we do. We are a great technology to work hand in hand with an AI role play because we feed the data that an AI role play needs to be able to create realistic examples of what could happen in a practice session. And Chris, I know you have some thoughts on this too. But Keenan
totally,
just joined back.
Oh,
go ahead.
We got him back.
Yes.
I don't know what happened, gentlemen. My apologies.
That's all right.
We'll try.
Just answer your question.
We'll try one more. Oh, wait. We'll try one.
Wait for
Let's
it.
do it.
Because I think it's pretty germane to what Chris was just saying. Please work.
Sure.
Is sharing a window. There you
Bam.
go. Okay.
We got it.
So
we got it.
Chris, you talked about starting with teach, and that's the skills layer. Teach is in the skills layer. But you then went to something that we don't entirely subscribe to. And you said, well, what is your best rep doing? You don't need to know what the best rep is doing. You need to know the outcomes that are working.
Yes.
I don't necessarily, to me, focusing on this is the problem we've had with sales enablement for years. Is they live in the skills layer. They have. I just talked to someone at Gartner the other day, and they asked what our competency models were. And everybody wants to talk about here's the skill. They did it. Did they get better? To your point, observing. We have something called the ODP model: observe, describe, prescribe. Right. And in between that is what is the impact? Observe, describe, then tell them the impact, then prescribe the new impact.
Yeah.
Right. But all of that is in the skills layer. Okay. And you get stuck on this cycle. We say you teach the skills. Then you go observe them in the opportunity layer, which is actually real time. Real time can be defined as a gong call. It can be defined as a deal review. It can be defined as an email. In other words, what are they doing in the actual performance of their job, right? Then from there, if they're not doing well, you assess what skill are they not getting that's causing them to fail at the opportunity layer. Why does this matter? We believe, and how does AI help? To your point about data, we're on the same page 100% there. We believe that at the end of the day, what closes a deal more than anything is the data the rep gets.
Correct.
Okay? So if one rep gets it one way and another rep gets it another way, I don't want to be wasting time trying to teach a rep to do it like the other rep. And I'll give you an example. I played football in high school. I'm 6'2", and at the time I probably maybe weighed 175, 180, so I was tall and skinny. My center of gravity was not like smaller running backs. And because I was only 175, I was not blowing people over like a Derrick Henry. So I had created my own running style that was very patient, which they had plotted now, but back in the day didn't like. And I had amazing balance. I could bounce off people. My coach kept trying to change the way I ran in spite of the success of how I ran. Does that make any sense? So
100%.
Yes. So when you set the expectations of what good looks like in form of outputs, it changes the game. And we believe
100%.
We believe at ASG, it is the bid information, buyer input data, the information the buyer tells you the cost of inaction is greater than the cost of action. And then I can train and build on top of that. So AI can then, to your point, whether you use a tool like yours that takes the information at the opportunity layer, dumps it into the CRM, and the AI can pick it up, map it against what the predefined bid is, which then goes back to what the rep was trained to get, what the rep trained was important. Say they don't have, and start guiding the rep that way, as opposed to looking to individual behaviors, which
100%.
don't always correlate to the outcomes. So that's how we.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like being able to understand. So one thing I posted in the comments, I always say this here very repetitively, and sorry, John, I'll let you go in a sec, is the best strategy is the one that works, right? As long as you get the outcome. And so however they're prescribing and getting on the calendar for a value call is within their style. Their style is conditioned by, to your football analogy, how you built your biology, your height, your strength, your stamina. In the sales world, it's going to be like your style within a structure. The outcome is, right, keep that calendar rhythm. If you're, for example, in this velocity shop scenario that I told the story of, but how you're prescribing, the best strategy is the one that works. It's outcome based. So I love that. I think we're aligned.
Yep.
I love it. Keenan was going to say there's been a ton of research on. I've delved deep into competency models, and a lot of teams, what they do is they actually start with the best reps and go from there, which is the wrong way because you have unconscious.
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second. Say that piece again.
There's research showing there's two different angles that most people do. The one angle is they start with the best reps and say, what are the best reps doing? And let's reverse engineer that, which doesn't work because you have a lot of unconscious incompetencies, a lot of problems with that. The other side is you go from, like you said, the outcomes or the bigger accomplishments and say, okay, based on these outcomes, what are the behaviors that need to happen for this outcome to be accomplished, right? And that's when it gets to streamline down there. So you're not measuring against a sales rep who may have been awesome at one region, but maybe not in somewhere else, but you're measuring against the outcomes and the behaviors that outcome defines. Does that make sense?
100%.
So, which I think, so my question is, a long way to introduce the question, was I find that with these past tools in the past, like the Gongs and others, there's all these hidden metrics that me as an enablement leader, I've always wanted to have, but I could never get, but now I can with AI because I can unveil all this stuff. So in your point of view, using this, ACG problem-centric model, what are the metrics that you are like excited about being able to get now that you couldn't before because you have AI who can get you those metrics?
Yeah, so that's a great question. To me, it's the data that I want is the impact. Oh my God, impact of the data on the close. So obviously I've written a book on it. I've got another book coming out tomorrow. I've bet the entire farm that the greatest value to a deal is how well a sales rep or anybody can uncover the size of the problem, the impact to that organization that the problem exists, the root causes of that, their desired outcome, in the gap. Now, there's some other things we put in there, but I bet the farm on that, right? Other people like Force Management, they bet the farm on Medic, right? They bet the farm on, metrics, and I even forget it. Now, what does the E stand for? Economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, which a lot of that stuff, in my opinion, has nothing to do with buyer. It's all for you, but I digress, right? They bet the farm on that. I want everybody executing at their little methodologies. And then I want AI to go through all of that, bang that against the win rates and be like, look, 90% of the time when you don't have a defined impact, you lose. That's what I want. right? So now that all of us can start arguing over gap selling and medic and all that, and be like, look, it's this needs to be, you got to go find the impact. And if you don't have a discernible problem, you lose 40% of the time. And if you don't understand the root cause, you lose 20% of the time, or the other way around. If you get this, you increase your win rate by that. And if it's, and by the way, if none of it is database, I mean, database, like if it's not the problem and it's just how well you are friendly on the front end, we've all been kidding ourselves this all this time. And it was just about rapport, and David Sim was right. Well, fuck it. Then let's all of us start to be really cool people. Okay. And let's just say, hey, buddy, how you doing? How about those Red Sox? And let's just win the deal. Right. So I want AI to tell us what's actually fucking happening, not making this shit up. What's actually happening. That's what I want.
I love it. Chris, what do you think on that one? Yeah.
No, I agree. I think relationship sellers can only get you so far. I think there's also science to back that up. One thing, Keenan, question for you. You were talking about like reverse engineering to outcomes. Could you expand on that? Like how, because you said mapping it out to outcomes. Could you go a layer deeper?
Watch this. I'm probably going to butcher this. So Chris, you're smarter than me. So you change my words when I get it out. But it's like sabermetrics, bro. Like if we had AI 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, James, whatever his name is for sabermetrics, wouldn't have been James for sabermetrics. Because what AI would have said is, why do you guys keep focusing on batting average? And by the way, do you know what sabermetrics is, Chris?
Remind me.
Okay. What about you, Jonathan? You know what sabermetrics is?
I don't know.
Okay.
Actually,
so do you guys see Moneyball? Do you see the movie Moneyball?
Yes.
Okay. So the premise for everybody listening, I'm showing my age here, but it was right in the middle of my early influential years as a salesperson and as a business person. Billy Beane, the owner of the A's, did not have the budget that the rest of baseball had. Okay. Yeah. He could not afford to pay the players what he paid the players. He had heard about some guy who'd been following baseball as a fucking hobby for like 25 years. And this guy took every freaking stat he possibly could. And all of a sudden he started playing them with, he was the AI, and started recognizing that what baseball traditionally called, or how they measured a good player, was not accurate. Mm-hmm. So the things they really emphasized for a good hitter back in the day was how many home runs they hit in ERA. So they'd run around getting all of these guys, your Reggie Jacksons and all this stuff. And what he recognized is that's not a good return on money. He said, because in baseball, there is no clock. An out is the most valuable thing in baseball. So he recognized that it wasn't ERA, it wasn't batting average that was so important. It was on base percentage. So if you only hit 250, but then you got on 60% of the other times you were walked and your on base percentage is around 700, that's as good as a batting average of 700.
Yes.
Right? So he started to realize, oh my God, all this shit you guys are focusing on isn't what really makes it. And so then Billy Beane was like, okay. And so because Billy was the first one to see this and no one else was paying attention to it, he was going out into college ranks and he was drafting on these stats. And he was picking up people that here's a perfect example, that had like a 240 had a 240 batting average, but got on base 65% of the time. So the scouts didn't see him. They weren't paying attention to him. So he went out and drafted all of these players based on sabermetrics. And that's when they started winning the World Series or making the playoffs with 1/3 of the payroll. So this is a long answer to Chris.
Yeah.
You start, what is the outcome? I am trying to close more deals. What do I think is the key metrics or set of metrics that closes deals? I personally don't think it's overcoming objections. I personally think it's the best and greatest understanding of those things I shared with you before, right? Because if you understand those, there are very few objections. If I understand your problem, what's causing it, what the root causes are, the impact, I've defined all of that. I don't make a recommendation or pitch my product if I can't see how it's going to fit. If the buyers already have this conversation and knows the root causes, they don't have an objection because they know exactly why you recommended what you just recommended, right? So it takes out a lot of the waste of when we were selling, like they were analyzing or assessing baseball players 25 and 30 years ago. We start with the end, and now I want AI to just validate that for me. We've learned it here without AI. We have found that when we don't have a discernible impact, not a problem, they'll say things like, oh yeah, we see it all the time. Yeah, we have one client right now. We're losing $3 million a year in discounts because our team can't sell without discounts. Right? But what's the impact of that? What happened besides losing the $3 million, which I know no one likes? What's the impact? And there isn't one other than the $3 million. And that's not enough. So they've been dragging this on and on and on and on. And until that impact becomes they're at risk of not paying the bills, they're at risk of not being able to get the valuation they want to sell, until they're losing to the competition, until that CEO could lose his job. I don't freaking know. It changes all the time. But until we've quantified an impact, we know for a fact our win rates plummet. And I want AI to tell me more of that.
That's so good.
Do you feel like it's a consistent thing? Like you could apply the impact ratio, which I would think you could at any company, but for every sales team is always the same. Do you feel like it changes? Because like baseball, it was on base percentage. Like it wouldn't matter what team you're on. That was the number to go for. So you feel like impact is that metric for all sales teams?
100%. Yes, 100%. Because notice the question you're asking. You're asking, is it impact for that team? I mean, for that sales. Yeah, I guess the sales team, right?
Right.
But the impact has nothing to do with the sales team. The impact has everything to do with the buyer. This is psychology. This is a fact, right? Like, here's a good example. I don't know why. I have the worst luck. But anyways, what do you have to call those damn things? Dishwasher. My dishwasher has gone out twice in the last 10 years. And both times it went out right at a time that something big was happening. So if my dishwasher goes out, I'm going to make this shit up, at like 8 o'clock on a Tuesday in July, nothing going on, I'll go a couple of weeks without a dishwasher and I'll try to find the best deal. And you know what I'm saying? If I live alone, the impact, the problem is I don't have a dishwasher. I have to wash everything by hand. It sucks. I don't like it. There's your problem, right? But the impact is kind of small. So I'll drag my ass. But the first time it happened to me was 2 days before Thanksgiving and I was having 25 people to my house. That's an impact, dog. And I went straight to the first people that had a dishwasher. And there was only one company, oddly enough, they're right down the street. And they only had one. And at the time, this was 10 years ago, it was $1,000. So I want you to think about a dishwasher 10 years ago. It was a Bosch for $1,000. This would cost me $400 to put in. I didn't bat an eyelash. That's impact. So that, to answer your question, Jonathan, impact has nothing to do with the sales team and everything to do with the buyer.
Come on.
Preach. I love it. Tell me this, I'm curious because you're a sports analogy. I thought of enablement from a point of view of like, I'm going to go a totally different direction than sports, but I'll bring it back in a second. So I always compare it to Hunger Games, and like the emperor is the CRO, and the game maker is enablement, and the game makers in control of the environment that the people sit in. That we're not trying to kill you, but trying to help you succeed. So it's the systems and the environment. So with AI, when I use that thing and I talk to other enable people, I'm like, you're just using AI to help create the environment to where people can win, right? Do you feel like that there's places where do you feel like in that scenario, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but with the systems like this ACG problem-centric thing, where does the human should be doubling down on human capabilities to make sure the system is working? And where do you double down with AI?
I think that depends. And I know. How long it takes, I don't know. But I know eventually humans will have a smaller and smaller role. So I believe, and I'm sure there's some early adopters who think I'm crazy, but I think for most of us, the human sets the playing field. And it's up for us to start the process of what is success like. So because we didn't have AI, using your Hunger Games example, the best, and you always saw this in the Hunger Games, the people that always won are the ones with the most creative understanding of what it took to survive, right? Mm-hmm. Those people who took the what is the word, the common understanding or the most common understanding is the hardest, toughest, brutest, I want to kick everybody's ass approach. Like everybody's like, that's what it takes to win the Hunger Games. They always lost, right? It was the people that were a lot smarter. The one who knew how to use a camouflage and stay completely out of the way. right? Or the one who knew how to build relationships in partnerships, right? Like,
Right.
we need to start with thinking and evaluating what is the true winning approach. Feed all of that to the AI and start the AI there. Then tell the AI, where are we wrong? You see what I'm saying? Like, you started there, then the AI come back and says you're wrong. Here, we see this. Then you train on that stuff. You work on that. You tweak it. Now tell us where we're wrong. And over time, if we do it right, now we're out of the picture. So I think it starts with heavy assessment from the human piece of really digging deep. And I think this is where we fail. And this is all the way back to how we started this conversation. I don't think sales teams really do much of a job of truly digging because they're always looking for the easy button. They're always looking for the easy button. So they don't really know what true success looks like. They to Chris's point, they default to that best sales rep and try to emulate them, which is the worst approach. And they never step back and say, what is consistent in every single deal? What is it we're seeing when deals win versus when deals closes? And anybody that wants to tell me 9 out of 10 times you're full of shit, because just give me 20 minutes inside your CRM and I know you're full of shit. I know it. So we just haven't really slowed down enough to really take a good hard look at what exactly causes an opportunity to close, what is weighted more, what is more valuable than the next piece and the next piece, the next piece, and then built a system to train the reps and then eventually train the AI to execute at that level.
Yeah, I've been fascinated with systems. I watched, I think it was the documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls and kind of his history, you know. And the thing that I found fascinating was when they talked about how Michael Jordan obviously is Michael Jordan, but he didn't really truly succeed until he had a system with Phil Jackson and his talent was amplified versus being leaned on as the only one. And that system was what took them to a championship 6 times, you know? So, I mean, not that the pieces aren't important, but it's more about the collective of the whole, which I find fascinating. So for you, like with going for the methodology, because it's a system, what's shifting for you when you go into a CRO and you're saying, okay, now I have gap selling. Is there anything you're doing differently or better, worse, maybe not worse, the right word, with AI now that you have it with integrating gap selling into a sales team? Like anything change?
Oh, 100%. It's reinforcement. We use it at every layer. We use it at reinforcement to help reps practice. So for instance, a manager doesn't see in an opportunity the impact, or doesn't see enough of the problem, or doesn't see definitions. They say things, I see this all the time. The customer is losing money. The customer's inventory is shrinking. How much? I don't know. How much revenue they got? I don't know. How many SKUs they have in their inventory? I don't know. Well, then you don't know shit just because you said they're losing inventory. How much is the average piece of inventory? I don't know. So you don't know anything. Like, you don't know anything, right?
Yeah.
So the manager sees that, tells the rep to go get it. The rep goes and gets it. Eventually, I'd like the AI to see it and say, you don't have it, tell you to go get it. But then as deals close, right, again, the AI says, hey, we're seeing this. So now I want more of that over here, less of this over here. So we see it in both. We're using in both the reinforcing the behaviors and teaching the behaviors with AI Keenan. Put your shit in here, treat it like a sales manager, because the sales manager can't get to everything.
Right.
Then the sales manager looks at it, and then we have noted, and we put it on top, and noted looks at it and says, you don't have this, you don't have that, go get it. Right. Then we score it. So it's okay. Short answer. Sorry, Jonathan. Short answer.
I like it.
Exception of the problem identification chart, because AI has yet to do that properly. I don't know why it struggles so hard. We use it across the entire OS. It's integrated in every element of the OS.
Well, I like the long answer too, Keenan, just so you know.
Hiring right now, which I'm sure we will. We don't use it onboarding right now, which I'm sure we will. But generally speaking, we use it through the entire OS.
There's a question from Marty, or not a question, more of a thought. What do you think about this one from Marty Keenan?
Hot take.
Okay, yes, it's a very hot take. What I'm hearing though is he I think his words have jumped on him. If we're looking at outcomes in training to identify those behaviors, then the method in my world isn't the behavior. The method in our world, gap selling, is the ability to get to the information. So if it finds out that you're not getting to certain information, then it's going to go back and tell you what that information is and give you ideas on how to get that information. But how you get it is not our methodology. In other words, to us, methodology is not the tips and tricks and tactics and steps. We'll give you rough ideas, like we'll steer you in the right direction, but it's not behavioral based in the idea that it's prescriptive. To me, a methodology should never be prescriptive. How you overcome objections, say this, say this, say this, do this, do this, do this. That is not scalable. We have seen that over and over and over again, right? It's why I love golf and tennis, right? As opposed to team sports. We used to see this in team sports. What's the objective? This is probably a good analogy. What's the objective in golf?
Hole in one
as possible. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Get the little stupid white ball into the hole as few times as possible, right?
Yep.
Have we not seen people on the tour with some of the most unorthodox swings, right, that are on top of the tour list and that are winning, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So AI would say, keep doing that. Like you're getting the ball in the hole. It might say over here, you may improve slightly if you adopt this, but it's the methodology isn't the swing. Do you see what I'm saying? The methodology should never be the actions. The methodology should be the outcome. Watch this. The methodology is you need to be able to create a draw. The draw means you've got to get spin from left to right. That's the methodology. The methodology is you need to get backspin so it stops and comes back. The methodology is you need to understand how a course is laid out in order to take the best approach shot, understanding these 8 elements or these concepts. That's what you need to do. How you fucking do that?
Yeah.
We'll give you suggestions, stay on plane, etc. But if you figured out how to get that ball to draw in your own way, then you're following the methodology. So we got to get off this whole thing. It's the do this, 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 and this. We got to understand what are the outcomes of those behaviors you're trying. And if someone can get those in their own way, run with it.
Yeah. What I like about that, Keenan, there's a book called Strengths Finder. I don't know if you've read it.
Buckingham.
Right. So the ability to first like assess yourself, like maybe you're starting off your career in sales or you've been doing this for a long time, but you've never stopped to understand what are your strengths. Because the whole premise of that book is how you win has everything to do with your 10 areas. And I think what you're saying is something that's very aligned to that, which is this is the what and this is the outcome. But the how, let the how come from your strengths. And so that's also a great point too, if you're listening or watching this later. If you want to know like, what's my 10 area? What's my how? You need to spend some time to try to understand what comes easy to you. Because this is when you think of like what is a gift, right? What is the gift you have? What is your 10 area? It's the thing that comes the easiest to you with the least amount of effort. And when you bring that to the sales process, there's probably some aspect of the spectrum that is very easy for you, and that's your strength, and you should leverage your strength to get the outcome. Now, obviously, to Keenan's point, if you're starting off and you were a BDR for 2 years and you have no idea like how to get from point A to point B, they're just saying get a point B. Here are a couple of examples. Here's roughly how you can do it so you have an idea, but like the objective is like the best strategy is the one that works and the one that works for you. And it's going to work for you when you understand what your strengths are.
Yep, you nailed it. There's a big distinction between a methodology being telling people how to behave versus what are the concepts that you need to be good at. And in golf, the method, whatever method puts together, I'm assuming that method would be how and when to use a draw, how and when to use a slice, if you ever use it, or I guess it'd be a hook or whatever. If you ever even use, that could be a methodology. Don't ever use one, right? Turned all 4 left and always used. I'm not saying it's a good one. I'm just saying the method is how you apply all the elements to an outcome. It's not exactly what you do.
Okay, Keenan, last 5 minutes. The question I didn't get to hear your answer for on the webinar I was on with you last week. What do you feel like some takeaways CROs, revenue leaders should be doing, looking at specifically with AI and humans? If you have a nugget of goodness you could say to focus on besides what we've already talked about, what would you say?
Could you redefine the question when you say doing with humans? Help me understand the question.
Well, I think a lot of times people are like looking at how does AI replace humans, and both people, leaders, and then individuals are having that same question. But I think as we keep going and we keep seeing how that fails, it's more like the middle ground of like how do you augment the humans and also let AI do some of the other stuff that it can do really well, like finding data and metrics and suggesting things. So right now, where someone's at, what is your suggestion?
I mean, look, I'm going to be biased here because we're good at it, but I would argue in personal development. So I would argue the place that sales enablement teams and CROs should be focused most is the development of their reps leveraging AI. So rather than getting AI to do all the work, look, I know there's some low lift shit that you can give AI to do to replace them. But I think particularly in complex sales, in sales cycles that require at least 90 days to sell, where the average sales price is at least $10,000 to $20,000 or more, it can be up to millions. I think the best place to use AI right now is the development and practicing for reps. So reps can have on their own time, built into their own schedule, someone that's available to them 24/7 that can evaluate a deal and give them feedback. Like coaching, the AI can literally give them feedback, that can listen to their calls and give them feedback. And then from that feedback, prescribe drills and prescribe writing exercises and role plays to reinforce what the AI saw. I think that's one of the best examples of AI human interaction is the AI can use all that processing power and brain power to identify where you're weak, then provide you that feedback where you're weak, get your buy-in, and then give you a program to improve, then review our observe, describe, right? Prescribe model. That I think is one of the best use cases ever.
And I think with the tech you guys using with James, with Replicate Labs through AI Keenan, does that same thing where you can take your methodology and then have an auto put in a calendar invite saying, hey, you have an AI role play based on your last call you just had or whatever, right? It's pretty slick. It's awesome.
Dude, it's I say this because I'm watching it work. Look, we got to make tweaks like everybody else, but the biggest aha moment for me after reinforcement moment for me was we were demoing this, right? And we were demoing a role play. So we had the buyer get in and practice a gap selling role play on an AI buyer. And the drill was to get to the impact. There you go, Chris, right? Because people struggle getting to the impact. And the way the drill was set up is that the buyer would keep saying, it just really affects us negatively. It's really hard on us. He would be very vague. And the drill was designed to force the rep to build the skills to get the buyer to actually quantify it, right? So after about 3 or 4 minutes, because it was a demo, the CRO got really frustrated, couldn't do it. We shut it down. He goes, man, that was hard. I couldn't get him to say it. And they asked a few questions. And then what you do is you go into AI Me, and AI Me tells you what I saw in your role play. You guys seeing what I'm saying here? The AI Me saw the role play and gives the feedback. Well, before we went into AI Me, the CRO goes, wait, before you go into Keenan, what would you have done? And I said, well, what does gap selling tell you to do? Back to methodology, right, Chris? And I said, it tells you to bracket. And what we mean by bracket is somebody doesn't give you a direct answer. You purposely go super high and you purposely go super low. It makes them uncomfortable. So you say, all right, so when you say the impact, is this more like $50 to $100 million? Oh, no, that's way too high. It's more like 6 or 7 million. Oh, no, that's way too. It's probably something around, right? That's normally what happens. So I tell him to do this and he's okay, great. So then he goes into AI Keenan. AI Keenan gives him all this feedback. And then he specifically asks AI Keenan the same question he asked me. So AI, what can I do? I feel, what is a skill somebody can do? He goes, you should try to bracket. It
I love it.
Absolutely nailed it. I mean, talking about a great demo. That guy was like, okay, we'll buy now.
We'll buy now.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
That
That's
one.
awesome. Well, we're at time. Let's make sure we want to take some moments to say thank you, Keenan. I'll make sure I'll send out to everyone your website and where they can get in touch with you on LinkedIn and other places. And just want to say we're so grateful. We love working with you and just want to tell you thank you for everything you've done for the community.
My pleasure. I hope this was valuable. Did this meet your expectation?
It was great.
100%.
Yeah, you always do, man. This is awesome. Love it.
Automatic.
And thanks for everyone listening in. Again, I'll be sending out the recording to this afterwards. We just want to tell you thank you. Have a glorious day.
Thanks, team.